8.5, the Pythagorean Theorem. When we are working with the Pythagorean Theorem, we can actually find the missing side length of a right triangle. We use the formula a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared, where c is your hypotenuse. It'll always be your longest side. So if we look at example 1, it tells us that the length of one side of a right triangle is 28 centimeters. So if we want to draw a right triangle, we say 1 is 28 centimeters. The length of hypotenuse is 53 centimeters. Write and solve an equation to find the length of the unknown side. So this can be b squared that we're finding for. So we would have a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. So we're just going to fill in here. So we're going to have 28 squared plus b squared is equal to 53 squared. These are big numbers, so I don't expect you to know this off the top of your head. However, 28 squared is 784, and then 53 squared is 2,809. If we go to find for b, or b squared, we're going to subtract the 784 from each side first. So we're going to have b squared is equal to 2,025. We're going to take the square root of both sides to get b instead of b squared, and only keep the positive of this. So we are going to have 45 centimeters is that missing side length. Full triangle. So if we look at this part here, it tells us that, where is it? Oops. If the sum of the squares of the lengths of the two shorter sides of a triangle is equal to the square of the length of the longest, then the triangle is a right triangle. For our next example, we are stating whether or not the three given numbers could represent the lengths of a right triangle. If we look at example 2a, we are going to take those two smaller sides, take the square root of both, square both of them. So it's going to be 8 squared plus 15 squared should equal 17 squared. So the 8 squared is 64, the 15 squared is 225, and the 17 squared is 289. The 64 plus the 225 is 289. 289 is equal to 289. So this is true. This is a right triangle. For B, we have 16, 24, and 30. So we're going to do 16 squared plus 24 squared should equal 30 squared. The 16 squared is 256. The 24 squared is 576, and the 30 squared is 900. So the 256 plus the 576 gives us 832. That is not equal to 900, so this is not a right triangle. For C, we're given 2, 4, and 5. So 2 squared plus 4 squared should equal 5 squared. 2 squared is 4. The 4 squared is 16. The 5 squared is 25. 4 plus 16 is 20, not 25. This is not a right triangle. Oops. For D, we have 14, 17, and 21. So 14 squared plus 17 squared should equal 21 squared. This is a right triangle. The 14 squared is 196. The 17 squared is 289. And the 21 squared is 441. If we add the 196 plus the 289, that gives us 485. And that is not equal to 441. So this is not a right triangle. For example 3, it asks, what's the length of the diagonal of a rectangle whose width is 18 centimeters and whose length is 30 centimeters? So we're going to use this triangle to find the hypotenuse. So this would be a right triangle. We're going to have a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. So we're going to use 18 squared plus 30 squared is equal to c squared. That 18 squared is 324. The 30 squared is 900. The 324 plus 900 gives us 1224. We would take the square root of both sides. We cannot take the square root of 1224, so find the prime factorization of it. 1224 divided by 12 is 12. No, it's 102, sorry. 102. 12 goes into 12 one time, 12 goes into 2 0 times, 12 goes into 24 2 times. So the 12 is 4 and 3, the 4 is 2 and 2. The 102 is 2 and 51. The 51 is 3 and 17. So prime factorization of this: 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 17. So we're going to take the square root of this. Our two 2's pair up to bring 1 out. The two 3's pair up to bring 3 out. The 2 times 17 stays underneath the radical. So 2 times 3 is 6. Square root 2 times 17 is 34. So 6 square root 34 is that length of the diagonal there. If we look at some more examples, for 3, we are finding C. Or sorry, for 4, we're finding C. So we have 3 squared plus 4 squared is equal to C squared. The 3 squared is 9. The 4 squared is 16. 9 plus 16 is 25. 25 is equal to C squared. We take the square root of both sides, so C is equal to 5. For 5, we have our hypotenuse. We're missing b, so 8 squared plus b squared is equal to 10 squared. 8 squared is 64, plus b squared is equal to 100. We subtract the 64 from each side, and we get b squared is equal to 36. We take the square root of both sides, so b is equal to 6.